Hello everyone, and welcome to Caroline's Craftery, and today we are going to start our step-by-step journal of dragons, and I'm calling it Dreaming of Dragons because I'm using my digital kit. So this is the Dragon's Eye, my sample that I did. I have never did anything like that before. So I wanted to get an idea of what I was doing, and I was just totally impressed on how well it looks. I hope it's showing up good on video. So we are going to start with the cover. This is the digital kit I'm using. It is my Dreaming of Dragons. Just a few of the pages. I'll leave a link below on where you can get the kit, etc. But just a lovely kit. I've been wanting to do a dragon journal in like forever. So this gives you a little idea of the pages. As I say, I'll leave a link below for this. And then we get into all the ephemera. So set that aside. So this is some of the stuff I've used. I used a number of ideas off of YouTube, and I'll try to leave some links below. So I've got some eggshells, some cheesecloth, some this netting. I have no idea where it came from. It kind of just helps with some texture for scales. Then I've got some dragon eyes. I bought these from Amazon, and I just did a search for dragon eyes. These are, I want to say 20 millimeters. They are approximately 1 1/8 inch wide. So find yourself some of theirs. There's even tutorials on how to actually make these eyes. But I bought them. I've got some tissue paper from Patterns. You could use other tissue paper or any really thin paper. I've got some Mod Podge, which normally I don't use Mod Podge. And I did for the project, my sample project, and I'm just trying to use it up. But matte medium or watered down glue would work. I'm going to do the cover in a green and a bluish dragon, so I've got some greens and blues. I've also got white and black paint, which I made my green a little darker and a little lighter just by doing it. I've got some of this here. Wax cure something, but it's aged brass. So you can do a search. I bought this used from somebody, but that's what I put over top of the paint and everything. So we got that. I've also got some white gesso. So let's set some of this stuff aside. Now I'm going to do my book cover on an old hardcover book. And my plan is to make all of it dragon scales with the eye on the front. And then on the inside, I'm going to come in just a little bit with some of the texture. So I have texture around here. And then I'll put a piece of paper, cardstock, on the inside. So I haven't prepped anything because I wanted to do a start to finish on this. So some of the videos, you know, you might want to fast forward through some of it, but that's up to you. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to rip away a little bit of anything here that is loose, and I usually just pick at it with my fingers. because if it doesn't come up when I'm pulling on it, then okay. So I'm gonna bring in, I use one of these huge scrapbooks to do any painting and whatnot on. So there's a page that obviously I've been using. So my first thing is I want to put gesso on this cover. Make everything stick to it a little bit better. Now I have no idea how this is all going to turn out, because as you're seeing this video, this is the first time I'm doing this. I've only done my sample project, and that was a little bit different than what this is going to be, but I think it'll work out just fine. So let's just put on a good coat of gesso. I just want everything to stick really, really well to this. So I hope you'll follow along. I did a lot of video watching before I made this, well, before I made my sample project. And there's so many good tutorials out there. So we'll get a good hefty coat. There's going to be lots of in between drying, so of course I won't make you watch paint dry. Okay. I do want to put a coat of gesso on the inside as well, and around the edges. Now I am fairly new to mixed media, but I am learning. Okay, there's a coat on the outside. So when that dries, I'm going to do the edges on the inside. So I will come back when this is dry. Okay, so I have the front and the back of my cover all painted with gesso, and it has dried. So now comes the fun part. I have picked this dragon eye because I think it'll go good with a blue and green dragon. So now I need to decide where am I going to put it on my cover and which way I want this pupil to be, up and down or sideways. In all the pictures I've seen, the pupil goes up and down of dragons, but you know, we can do whatever we want. So I'm just going to put some art glitter glue on the back. Paper is glued right on there. So this is going to be held on by Mod Podge and stuff anyways. But I do want it to be stuck down to my thing. And I think I want to make his eye a little bit on an angle. So then it makes it look like it's coming down to his nose. So I kind of want it in the middle, and I want the pupil just pointing that way just a little bit, like so. Keeping in mind, this is new. So I've cut up a whole bunch of the tracing paper. Not cut it up, but tore it up. And I want to do 4 pieces by taking my piece of paper and pick one a little tiny bit longer. So I'm just going to crumple it up, and I'm going to kind of make it into a string. So I just put it on my finger and go like that. Because then this is going to be the top of his eye. So I've got some Mod Podge in a little dish over here. Now, apparently the secret to Mod Podge that I've heard is you don't want like a ton of Mod Podge, or it takes forever to dry. Keeping in mind that we're going to do lots of layers here. Okay, so I want to try and get relatively the shape of his eye in these first couple of rolls. That's what I found when I was making my first sample project, was it seems to work better. And I'm not going to get too serious on making sure that it's good because I've got lots and lots of layers to put on here yet. I'm going to try not to get too much on the eye. But when I did my first project, I was able to just scrape it off of the eye, so it wasn't a big deal. Now I'm going to take another one, same thing, I'm just going to hold it and then I twist it around and around with my finger. And this is going to make his bottom of his eye. And that's going to be smaller as we get going on this too, so this isn't going to be the end size. So that's going to go there. Kind of overdid it on the Mod Podge on this one. Okay. And at first, I will admit, it does not look very pretty. But you will find that as time goes on, it looks better and better. Okay, I think I want a different brush though. I want one that's not so big. Let's try this one. Because I want to hold these circles kind of together. So if I put a little bit of Mod Podge on those. Okay. Now, I'm going to take another piece. Same thing. Now this is going to go on the inside of his eye to kind of make more of his eyelid. I'm going to put my Mod Podge right against this one. I'm going to put some up and on the eye, trying not to get too far into the middle. Okay. And now that's going to go right along there. Okay. Now I want to make sure that that's kind of not pressed up, but relatively close to the other eyelid. As I said, at first I was really leery about the whole thing because it didn't look nice. But I kept going on it, and it turned out really, really, really good. I was very, very happy with it. Just want to check that. Looking good. Okay. One more piece. I want just a small, short piece. Okay. And this is going to be for the bottom. Like so. Let's put some more Mod Podge. The hardest part is waiting for it all to dry. Because we get quite a few layers on there. And it gets kind of thick after a while. Okay. Just going to spread these ends out a little bit. Just because I don't want to take too much away from the point of his eye. And every one of these will be totally, totally different. You would never ever get two the same, which is kind of nice. I try to make sure my ends are patted down good. I'm going to try and stick this little piece down a little more. And you can put just a sheet over this, like just take one of these and put over, and that would help it. That'll help it at the very end to hold it all together. And then the white of the eye will make it after at the very, very end. Okay, I think that, let me just take a peek. I think that is looking pretty good. The eyeball is a little off center, but that's okay. Because like I say, everyone is going to be different. So now with my other one, I kept going until it was all done. This one, because I'm going to wrap some over, I won't be able to do that. So now I'm going to take all these pieces and I'm going to crumple them up. And then I'm going to lay them down. Now I want them to be rough. I want them to be all crumpled up and whatnot. So I'm just kind of going to put them down just really, I don't want to say quick, but I just want to put them down there. I want them to be scaly, but not, you know, you don't want big bumps all over. But if they have lots of wrinkles in them, and there's going to be a few layers on this, so this isn't going to be your finished thing. I try not to have any air pockets in there. Like I said, it's going to be different every time, so. But the whole process, it doesn't take long. It probably takes you longer to dry your project than it does anything else. Now, as I go into the spine of the book, this is going to be a different part for me because my first project was just a sample on a flat piece of paper. And I want to make sure I put a couple coats over where I bundled up all the edges of the eye. Just to make sure that it's all held down. And as I get over here to the spine, I'm going to make sure that it still is bendable. Let's move some stuff out of the way so I can turn the book a little bit this way. The true effect really came out when I put that final brass stuff on the outside. that's when I really became really excited about this project. So even if you're making one and you're thinking, oh, I don't really like it, keep going. Because, like I say, it wasn't till the very end that I actually really became happy and excited about it. Now I could fast forward it, but I do want to show you all of what I did with it. As I said, you could use like matte medium or any other kind of stuff. And my first one I used just regular tissue paper that you would wrap a present up in or something, and it worked totally fine. But I don't have a lot of that. And I thought, well, the pattern paper, I've got lots of that, or I can get lots very easily. Okay, put one more piece over this way. Hopefully I've been in camera. And I actually found it worked good too if I dabbed the Mod Podge on. As I say, it does get kind of thick after a while, but not really thick, but you know, got lots of wet layers of Mod Podge on here. So kind of when this step is done, it does take a while for it to dry before you can paint. I think I waited, pretty much a whole day before I painted it. Maybe even it was even longer. So now this piece here, I'll wrap around once I can do that. Okay. So I'm just going to keep going with that. I want to put down a thin layer of all this before I add some of the other stuff. I want most of the detail to be around the eye. I know there was a few people that said, you know, they had no idea how to do this. And I totally understand that because I didn't, and I was scared to try one. But I was so happy I did, and I realized that, you know, it's not that hard. And that every piece would be different. I mean, I can already see so many changes in this one compared to my sample project that I did. And maybe that's one reason why dragon journals seem appealing, because they will all be so different. Okay. And you could use matte medium. One lady I watched, she just used glue, just watered down glue. So it all depends. Like I say, I'm using the Mod Podge because I want to use it up. And once it's used up, I will go to a matte medium, which I already have. But the Mod Podge, like I say, I'm going to use it up. Sometimes I'll go back to places I've done and pat it down. I've hardly done any Mod Podging, so it's kind of a whole new thing as well for me. And crinkling it up does help with making the wrinkles in it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with this. I'm going to do the whole cover, all the front and the back. And then when I get that all done, I'll come back and I'll show you my next step in it. Okay, I am back. Now I've got the front all Mod Podge with the pattern. And I also folded the inside in. So the inside is pretty much just how it's going to be, except I'll paint the edges. So I tried to make it fairly flat because there will be a piece of paper or cardstock that goes over top of that. So now I want to just build up right here and right here on the eye, just a bit, not a lot, because it's kind of like a steep edge there. So I'm just going to take and just put a little bit thicker, just right in, kind of right in the crease. Because I don't want it to be like a drop off there of stuff. If I had to make one suggestion, I would say take your time. Don't rush making it. Just take it easy and have fun with it. I think having fun would be the most important thing. So just taking a little bit bigger piece right up in here. Because I think, other words, it's going to almost seem like his eye is like bulging out. And I don't really want that. Let's just turn this a little bit so we can get the top. Probably should have did this, like built it up just a little bit. Kind of when I was putting the first round of stuff on. My camera, I hope so. Okay. And I know it doesn't look much yet, but it will. Like I say, just don't get hasty on thinking it's going to look like something that's out of this world. I guess the dragon is kind of out of this world. But stick with it. I think you'd be happy to stick with it until the end. Because it doesn't really look like much right now. But it will. Looks kind of funny actually with the sewing pattern all over because you get all the black writing and stuff, but once it's painted and stuff, you won't see that part. Okay, I think that's good. Just to give it a little bit of extra. Just there. So now, I took my cheesecloth and I just cut up a whole bunch of pieces. And I also took this netting and cut it up into pieces. So we're going to use this as more dimensioned. Now I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to Mod Podge this down just wherever I feel like it might need something. I'm not going to worry about the square edges for now, because as we go along you'll see what happens there. I'm going to take some of the cheesecloth as well. I don't want to cover the whole thing. I only want to cover parts. And some of this will probably get covered when we do another layer. There's quite a few layers that we need to do on all this. This is a little bit different cheesecloth than what I used on my sample, but I only want the bits and pieces of this stuff around. I'm going to put some on the back as well. But I'm going to keep it away from the edges of the paper because I don't want it to fold underneath. Because I don't want the inside to be too thick. Because then I'll just notice it too much when I glue the paper onto the back of the inside of the book. This over here, and then I'm not reaching across all the time. This could go like over the spine a bit because it should be quite flexible. So let's try a piece of that right here. This stuff doesn't stay on really good until it starts to dry on there. Trying to keep stuff in the edge of the book there, or in the spine where this crease is. Trying to keep it down. I did bend it a couple times just to make sure that nothing I was doing was hindering the movement of the spine. And so far, so good. So I don't want to do a whole ton in the spine part. Because again, I want these creases of the book to be there and to be movable. Put a piece of cheesecloth down this way. So far this project has been lots of fun. I probably, in between letting things dry, I probably let the Mod Podge dry for a couple of hours. One nice thing on video, it's only seconds. Okay. Let's turn this around. Just so then I can work from this side a little bit. Now, like I say, I don't want it everywhere. Okay, let's put some up here. Now, some videos I watched, people used like a modeling paste and did some modeling paste on it to make it look scaly and rough. I'm not so much worried about it being scaly. I just want it to be rough. I'm going to use that one next. I want a little bit smaller piece so I can put it up over here. As I say, some of this will get covered up because we will do more of the pattern print on there. And I'm just putting it wherever I think I want a piece. Let's cut another piece in half. But the idea is to eventually just have little bits and pieces of this showing. That's kind of my plan at this point. A small piece over here. I think if a person had like some cheesecloth that was kind of rounded in the corners, might look really cool. I'm going to cut a couple of these in half so I have a couple smaller pieces. And like I say, I have no idea where this came from. It was just something I found in my stash. Where do I want to put this? I'm going to cut a couple of even smaller pieces. There we go. And I think I'm going to put one. This piece here doesn't really want to stay down that good, but it will shortly because I'm going to put some paper on top. We'll use this other really tiny piece and put it down here. I think this stuff here will make nice looking scales once it's painted and stuff. Okay, so there is that. Move that out of the way. So now we're going to take paper and we're going to cover it up because I don't want the square of these pieces. So we'll just put some of this down, because then you still get the look of that. I don't know if you can see right there. You can still see that scaly looking stuff there, but it kind of takes away from a straight line of the edge. And just patting it down. So now you can just see that part there, where you can't see that solid line, and once it's painted, you probably won't see like any kind of line there at all. So I'm just going to do this with a bunch of the little pieces. I would love to see what you're making, so feel free to send me a message or leave me a comment so I can go and peek at what you're doing if you're working on a dragon journal, following along on this tutorial. Like I say, I'm no expert at this, but it's fun. I love doing this. And I'm really excited on how it's going to turn out. It is different doing a cover than the sample piece, but I was glad I did the sample piece because it just allowed me to understand what I was doing a little more. And I didn't want to wreck a cover. I wanted to at least have an idea of what I was doing, even if it was only a little idea. So now I don't have to do every edge of this stuff, just kind of where I think it might need some. But once you put a little piece of this paper on top, it changes the whole texture of what's underneath it. And I think that's part of the whole fun of this. Now for this part that I'm doing now, I'm only using fairly small pieces of paper. I am still crumpling them a little bit. But when I go to stick it down, you know, if there's some crumples in it, that's okay, because they'll take on the crumples of what is underneath them anyways. Concentrating what I'm doing, and then I forget to talk to everybody. Which is kind of normal, I think. As I said prior, I'm going to use my digital Dreaming of Dragons kit on this, and I'm going to do that part on video too, so I hope that you will follow along right till the end, because I would love to have you tag along with me. I've also got my Facebook group. If you are not a member of that, there's links below for that as well. I also have a coffee site, K-O-F-F. I've got a few of my digitals there. I've also got a lot of my freebies there as well, so feel free to follow the links for that below as well. It's a easy site to navigate through and stuff, I have found. And my kits that I have put over there are at a bit of a deal, because they don't have all the fees and stuff that are elsewhere. So I figured that, you know, I could sell them a little bit cheaper. So if you want to go there and purchase any, you can. I've only got a couple up there right now. I'm working on getting a few more over there. I am limited to how many kits I can put up there right now, but working on getting more up there and stuff. I've also got a blog that I post stuff on, and all those links are in the description box. They're easy to find. Okay, getting close to being done. I am going to make sure I cover up this edge, just because it's on where I'm going to be bending the book. I want to make sure that that stays down. This is going to be such a fun project.